you're looking for all the answers, I don't have them. But what I do have is a particular set of skills I've acquired over a very long career, skills that make me a nightmare for people who misrepresent, misinform, or mislead the sports card industry. So if you don't do that, I'll let it go. That will be all. But if you do, I'm going to point out your mistakes, I'm going to point out what you're doing, and we're going to try to learn from it. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Sports Card Investigator. My name is Andy and I am the Sports Card Investigator. And today we're going to talk about some really good what I believe important topics. But first and most important, I want to thank you guys so much for the continued growth of this channel. The community is growing and I really appreciate it, and I am just so ecstatic that we are on this journey together. Last time I checked, less than a week ago, we were at 460 subscribers, and today I couldn't believe it. We're up to 500 and I believe 580 subscribers. That's crazy and terrific, and I am just so happy that we are growing at that pace, and it's exciting, and we're just going to keep the ball rolling. So with that said, some stuff we're going to talk about today, some things that I believe are important for the upcoming season, and hopefully you guys will get something out of it. And if not, I'm sure you guys will let me know. So I was reading an article this morning because, we're really close to the NBA season. And, I'm always looking at verified sources of information to share and get some insight, because that will help us navigate these. I think this is uncharted territory that we're going into with the NBA, to say the least, because there's no more bubble. The virus, unfortunately, is still with us. And the NBA is going to plow through this season come hell or high water. I read a very interesting article this morning, came out by Bill Reeder of CBS Sports. And I want to go over it a little bit with you because I think it could definitely have an effect on how we plan out our strategies for the upcoming season. And it basically was called Why You Should Expect an Ugly 2021 NBA Season Filled with COVID-19 Drama and Unpredictable Outcomes. And I'm going to go over some of the highlights. Please find it, read it, just Google, probably December 3rd, 2020, Bill Reeder, CBS Sports, it'll pop right up. But here are some of the highlights for you guys. It's going to be a rough and rocky road, one full of positive COVID-19 tests, injuries, unpredictable outcomes, and enough uncertainty to make 2020 sports calendar look, by comparison, tame and reliable. That's a scary proposition. That's the takeaway from numerous conversations CBS Sports has had with the NBA League, its sources, executives, scouts, former players, and more. Since the league this week released a 134-page guide to navigating the pandemic that postponed last season, and we know has altered every part of our life. And this, vaccine cannot come soon enough. I just want to get back, as I'm sure you guys do, to get back to normal. The memorandum itself said it's likely that some staff, players, and other participants in this upcoming season will test positive and contract COVID-19, particularly as the virus remains prevalent within the United States. It's going to be interesting. And the solution that the NBA has said, deal with it. So think about that. Deal with it. So they're not going to stop play unless, God forbid, it gets so bad. So how are they going to deal with it? Well, they're going to play subs, and they're going to use expanded rosters. So they're expanding their roster from 13 to 15. They're telling people, look to your G League squad. Lean on your veterans and stars to try their best to convince guys in the locker room to act properly outside, because it's not in the bubble, and the show will go on even as everyone from the commissioner's office to individual markets understand that out-of-control pandemic in a world where many still don't take this seriously, and it's the reality right now. So this is a scary and interesting proposition. You might see guys that had no shot of making an NBA roster being brought up from the G League, right? Or they're expanding. So a couple guys that would never make a roster literally are going to be on this roster. And that's going to really impact player performance and the individuals on how they're going to perform, because they're going to be new guys. So there might be some guys that just come out of nowhere. And we have to be careful of that. Injuries this season are just as scary a specter for teams' chances as COVID-19. Now, this was interesting. I was going to ask Chris, SportsCard PT, what he thought about this. But one interesting feeling in the league is that injuries to players weigh just as heavily on organizations, or even more so, than the fear of rash of positive COVID-19 tests. This is all in the article. There's a fatalistic resignation that coaches, executive, and players simply can't control the spread of the invisible virus, as the private, if selfish actions of some of their own employees and players. That feels inevitable. The thinking goes just as it has been across the country. And person after person said, in some version, people are going to get it. It could be bad. Just hope for the best and get through it as far as the virus. Injuries are another matter. In theory, you can have more control over injuries. However, several NBA sources pointed to international soccer as an example of what happens when a condensed schedule follows a woefully shortened off season, and that is a rash of injuries. That's a scary thought. And I just hope to God that we don't run into anyone, whether they be stars, role players, or guys that brought up, are going to get hit by this injury bug. But the consensus is that it could very well happen. And then you run into a tanking team that could very well tank the season for everyone else involved. You say, well, how is that possible? Well, they go into that. This was another interesting point that several people raised. It's far from certain that everyone is going to avoid bars, clubs, friends, restaurants, to in effect lock yourself down for months while out in the world is full of COVID-19, even when you have a reason to do so. So let's say a team starts off at 6-17, right? They're out of it for the most part. So players who no longer care because their season is effectively over, players who are angry, disgruntled, or resigned to the sense of meaningless time on the court could wreak havoc on an actual contender or the entire league. And many express severe doubt that terrible teams will have anything approaching an acceptable level of COVID control or monitoring their behavior on a week-to-week or month-to-month basis. This stuff is interesting and it's scary, and it could create havoc for our NBA season, therefore creating havoc with the players that we are looking at and targeting, especially those rookies. So take a look at this article. It's from a verified source that knows what they're talking about, as opposed to non-verified sources who do not. And that brings me up to a really good segue, because let me touch on that for a second. As we get closer and closer to the NBA season, I am seeing more and more content providers or content creators. And my thoughts on all these guys is trust them, but please just verify what they're saying. I've noticed a lot of these guys sharing their opinions, and that's great. Everybody has opinions. I mean, it's no issue with that. But it's an opinion, and you guys need to treat it as such. Just like when I say something, don't trust it. If you don't believe me, verify it and call me out on it. Andy, I'm calling BS. That's not true. I get it. I'd expect it. From my career back with DEA, I had to verify everything, and I expect the same. The one thing, though, that really gets to me, and it sticks out, and I find interesting when it comes to content creators, is when did content creators become professional basketball talent evaluators? To me, it boggles my mind. Like, I have friends that are associated with the NBA. I trust their opinion on players. And that's who I go to when I want to ask a question about a player, what they think, because their opinion counts. They have experience. They've been doing it for a very long time. And I also use verified sources, just like the article I just read. There are beat writers. There are people that write professionally for news organizations that cover basketball that I trust. That's their job, right? So anytime you hear me talk about a player, I will do my best to back it up with references. And sometimes if I don't, trust me, I just don't mention it. Call me out on it. I'll be happy to, talk to you more about that and amplify it if we have to. Because I do that because I am not a talent evaluator. So it's curious to me when I see these content creators say that someone is a buy or a sell based on their evaluation of the player's talent level. I find that funny. And so should you, because these guys are not talent evaluators. I've been looking at this guy and I think he needs to work on his shot. I think he needs to... Anytime that I hear the word I think from a content creator, I think what a player has to do, I shake my head in disbelief or just total dumbfoundedness. That's a word. I'm always making up words. You guys notice that? And look, just don't think because someone has a platform on YouTube or IG or any other place that they have more knowledge or can have or get or more knowledge than you, because that is simply not true. And I try my best every time that we talk to prove that, and we're going to continue to do that as we move forward. You have the same information and have the same ability to gather information as anyone else, including me, right? Now, you guys know my background. I used to be a DEA agent, 26 years, supervisor for 15 years. And when my agents would brief me on a case, I would tell them, don't take this the wrong way, okay? But I don't care what you think. I don't. And neither does the judge when you're in trial trying to get a guy convicted. I want to know what you know and how you know it. And then, by knowing that, we can properly evaluate the information because it's backed up and we can analyze it, right? And that's how I vet the information given by content creators. Some content creators are fantastic. I'm going to talk about one. I talk about them before. I'm going to talk about another one later. But they back up their information. Okay? And that's what we always have to look for. If someone says, I think this player is a buy because I just don't think he's going to mesh well with his team and he has to work on his game, and I think, nope, not a chance. And I've almost considered keeping a book of all this, and then at the end of the year saying who was right and who was wrong. Some guys are going to be right. Some guys are going to be wrong. My point is, trust the people to evaluate talent who do it for a living. Now, some guys will evaluate data points, prices of cards, and that's fine. But we also have to look at when someone says this guy is a buy because he's low at his lowest point. Or sometimes I see guys that say this is a buy because he's at his highest point. Back it up with facts and tell me why I should invest my hard-earned money to believe what you're telling me. That's it. All right, moving on. I received a comment on my last video. Thanks for the comments, by the way. You guys are very insightful. I really enjoy seeing the comments that you guys put on my videos. Awesome. And I received a comment on my last video from a person who said that the problem in this with basketball cards is that they're just too high in price, right? And he gave some examples. And he gave examples of guys that I bought over the last year. And these are players going into their second year. What do the kids say now? But you're not ready to talk about that yet, right? Sure, they're high now. You see what I'm saying? We shouldn't be buying them now. There are times when we should be buying them, and that was a long time ago. Look, when I was with DEA, I could never go into any type of enforcement operation, or anytime I sent agents out on the street, without an operational plan. And this started thinking when I heard about that comment where these cards are high now, right? Well, they are high now. So, as far as operational planning, I've taken the same approach and the same method that I used back with DEA when it comes to sports cards. I could never have my guys go out on really anything, especially enforcement operations, without having a operational plan. And you guys know that I try to take the same approaches, analytical, tactical, from my DEA days into the sports card world that we're in now, and hopefully that helps us along the way. So, as I said, take the same approach, the same method when it comes to sports card, and in order to be successful in our endeavors, we have to have a solid plan. And this is an old cliche, but I live by it, and it's by failing to prepare, we are preparing to fail. So we have to have a plan. So what's your operational plan? What is your plan? Is your plan to listen to content creators and them saying, go buy Donovan Mitchell, and you're going to go buy Donovan Mitchell? That's not a plan. That's a reaction. So we have to have an operational plan going forward. Okay? So what's our operational plan, and are you ready to execute it? I know what you're saying, Andy, operational plan, the season hasn't even started yet, right? And in the last episode, you told us that you weren't buying any rookies, so what's going on? How do we have an operational plan? Because the operational plan that I am talking to you guys about was prepared last year. I always work a year behind, okay? This is how we attack the industry. And how we attack this industry and how we get success depends on our planning for the future. For me, it's targeting those players as a buy opportunity to last year to sell this season. That's what we're looking for, okay? So those players from last year, we have targeted, and we are going to hope that they continue to progress. Those players that we did our research on, our analysis, and bought them when they were inexpensive. They're not high then, but they are high now. And that's what we want to see. That will lead to our success. Okay? We have to know when the opportunity to buy these guys presents itself, and then we have to pull the trigger. Those cards come into our possession. We inspect them for grading. And then we have to ensure that we get those cards in for grading and they are returned for the start of the upcoming season. And then we just repeat the process. Now, if we do everything correctly and we execute the plan, we have a very good chance of cashing in. Now, there's also always going to be targets of opportunity during the season. And we will take a look at those and we will take advantage of them as they present themselves. And during the season, I'll come on and we'll talk about those. We'll talk about guys that have flashes or we think maybe they're targets of opportunity who maybe we should wait and see and then strike when the time is right. Now remember, our goal My goal, and now what your goal should be if it isn't already, is to stay one step ahead of the crowd. One step of those guys saying, oh, it's time to buy now when the cards are on their way up. We want to buy those cards when they're down here. Okay? And there are times when I have another video that we did a long time ago now that showed about a buying opportunity that I saw where the cards would drop in price. They were silver rookies and they always were within a 30-day window. Those are the kind of things that we're going to look for, and we look for during the season. And if we do that, we're going to be successful. We're going to be successful. And remember, guys, there is no quick get-rich way to make money in this. I see these guys all the time where the creators will say, the content creators will be like, you know, buy this guy now, he's going to go up, you flip him, and you're going to make 30% of your money. There is no surefire way. There are no guarantees in life. It reminds me, and I'm an older guy. I you know, you guys don't remember, but I remember when Steve Martin was doing stand-up comedy, and he tells an old joke. It's a whole routine, but I always think about when I hear about these content creators saying, I bought, you know, one of these guys bought, I think it was like $10,000 worth of Zion right before the playoffs started last year because he thought it was going to like go up high. He could think that, you know, I was selling, he was buying, it was at the height, you know, and we know what happened after that. They didn't make the playoffs. His cards kind of cooled down a little bit, and that's the way it goes. But anytime someone tells you, you know, buy this and you're guaranteed to make this, or, you know, buy this card, send it into PSA, you'll get a 10 and you'll do this. There are risks involved, and we have to make sure that we understand those risks, because I never want to see you guys get hurt. But Steve Martin had an old joke, and it was funny. He says, the way to make $1 million is first, get $1 million, right? I mean, it's silly, but that's the key. There are no sure ways. Just do the work, and it will pay off. I promise, okay? So with that in mind, I got notified by PSA last week, actually I think it was 2 days ago, that my bulk submission from June is done. And it's coming, and I should have it. I'm doing this video. You'll probably see it on Monday, and actually I think the bulk submission should be in my possession on Tuesday. It's a 262 card submission, mostly basketball, a little bit of football and baseball thrown in. I don't do baseball at all, but I was talking to one of my good friends, and he gave me a couple players, and I got some graded, so we'll see how that comes out. It was the last bulk sub I did prior to PSA changing it, because these were $9 grades. Then I actually went to $20 grades, but then they got rid of that. You know the whole story with PSA, right? So going forward, obviously I don't have a $9 grade anymore. And some of these cards that I took a shot on, I would never do now because it's $6 more to grade. And the whole system that I'm using now to grade cards and sending them in on a continuous basis has all changed because I had to adjust with PSA. And if you guys want to know or talk more about that, then I'd be happy to hit on that on another episode. But everything has changed, and we have to adjust with the times. And now that PSA just got bought by Nat Turner, I am so excited because I think that is really going to be an awesome thing for the industry. And we can talk about that too, but that's just, that was exciting news. So let me know in the comments. I'm deciding how to go about this. I think it would be cool to show you guys what I got back. A lot of stuff you might be like, well, why are you grading that or not? But it's what I do. I grade a lot of cards. Some will disagree with what I grade with, some not. But I can give you the highlights. I can give you a live on tape reveal. We could do an analysis of how many 10s I got and how many 9s and how many minimum grades. So I can walk you through the whole process. Let me know what you think. I could do that. I could do that as our next episode. So, yeah, just let me know in the comments. Before I go, I want to tell you about a video that Jordan from Sports Card Analytics did, and he put this out not very long ago. And it's kind of what I was telling you. It's not an opinion-based piece. It's not I'm making a pick. It's based on data. It's based on analysis. It's based on his research. And I watched it, and I acted upon it because it is what I deem to be actionable, reliable intelligence. And that's what we need in this industry. Okay? We don't need hunches or guts or whatever. We need actionable intelligence. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go into the whole video because I want you to watch it. But it's about the short print variations of 2019-2020 Mosaic basketball, specifically dealing with the rookies. And he doesn't tell you go buy Darius Garland or go buy John Moran or go buy Tyler Hero. He breaks down the variations as they compare to the regular base and how this is a buying opportunity. And I think that's important because these variations are just more rare than the base, but the prices are not that different. So that is actionable intelligence backed up by analysis. It's not think, thought, or opinion. Okay? Don't take my word for it. Check out his video. Jordan's at Sports Card Analytics. Let me know. Let him know what you think. Because it's my goal to get you guys the best information out there. When I see someone like Brett from Stacking Slabs or Jordan, or Mountain State Cardboard's podcast, I want to recommend those guys to you because they are the guys that you should be looking for and towards. There's a lot of guys out there, and as we go on, I'm going to mention Personal Finance that I mentioned him last time. There's some other guys out there that I really, really enjoy who have good content, right? So check out all those guys. By the time this video comes out, Chris at Sports Card PT better have his video out because we've been bugging him. Chris is really, really good because he talks about injuries on players and how it affects them going forward. And that, again, is actionable intelligence that we all could use. So, with that, thanks for joining me. I hope you got something out of this. Leave a comment, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and I can't wait till the next time we get to talk. Take care.